Hello there. As I'm sure you've worked out by now by reading the title and looking at the thumbnail, today I'm going to be painting a cat. We're going to be using these lovely photo references provided by Simmerboss Neko on Instagram, and that about wraps it up, I think. Alright, let's move on to the sketching phase then. Sketch time. There really aren't a lot of pages left in this one. Alright, starting with our first reference. Oh, it's so cute. I haven't decided how many of the references I'm going to draw, but probably more than I should. I think we can sketch them out nice and quick, don't you? Much easier than a frog. Although, for some reason I chose a black cat. So, chances are it's going to be harder than I think. Wow, that is some brilliant ear sizes. Aren't I just... It's worse than the spheres. It's so much worse than the spheres. That's a bit better. And then it's just completely fluffy. The mouth kind of protrudes from the actual rest of the face. That's the white section. That's the white section. Those lines will be really hard to replicate with the water paint later, but that's a future me problem. And then this fluffiness kind of goes all the way down the neck. And then the paws right here, paw 1, and we got paw 2 over here, which is, it's kind of, there's a rock here and it goes like that. So paw 2 is a bit lower. There we go. Oh, that's a bigger paw. My oh my. Aren't I just brilliant at this? I heard someone once say that you should always look at your reference more than your picture, and while I understand what they mean, clearly I am not up to that stage yet. I simply need to learn my proportioning better. But he starts around here, probably scoops around to about here, and then over here there's a bit more of another extra circle section, and then add this biggest eyes. What's the bet? The circles are the only things I get right in this sizing. I've got to get myself an acrylic white pen so that I can add the highlights, because I'm not very good at just leaving the space available for them. It would also be good to have that acrylic pen to add the whiskers, because I'm not going to end up leaving enough space for them, so they're going to have to be in a colour that isn't white and is somehow darker than black, so she might not get any whiskers. Or he. I don't actually know what gender the cat is, I didn't check. Now all of this pretty much is black. And then all of this is black again. And all of this is black, although I'd say the tail cuts off more around there. There we go. Cat number 1. Oh, this one's just cute. I don't know whether I'll be able to draw this one or not, but it's very cute, so I want to. Because it's kind of like that. Yeah, up like this. There's another ear over here. That would go down something like that. However, there's a very cute little paw here I need to draw in. I'm just going to draw them in like that for the moment, block them in, and then detail them after. There we are. That's a terrible shape of the mouth. Anyway, not my strongest suit that I've ever had the pleasure of wearing, but it's there. And that's better than nothing, some like to say. I'm not sure I agree with them, but some like to say that. This is definitely not the cat that we're going to be painting. Not in this position, anyway. And that's cat number 2. Well, we'll do this one as cat number 3. What is with me and starting with the ears? Maybe I'd do better if I start with a different body part next time. Mouth bends around, comes up. Then we go down over here for the white. Okay, now we've got a body coming. Oh, I did not anticipate the length of the body when drawing this. I should have thought that through a bit more, but that's okay. I think I have just enough room. And then there's a leg over here with a paw coming forward nice and round over here. Down back here we kind of go like this, with the leg going around here, dipping down into a paw. There we go. That's not too bad. And we got our it's actually the exact same cat as all the other ones, but it looks old because it has a beard. Oh, Alright, so I've sketched 3. I think that's enough sketching of them today. I've decided I'm going to do number 1. Mostly because I actually like the background of the image, and also because that one's not going to happen. I mean, I could do number 3 and I don't think it would look bad, but the background's a bit plain. So I'm going to try number 1 instead. Whee! Where's the right page? That's not... There we go. That's the painting from last week's video. No, I have not painted since then. So today we'll be doing this page. Yay! You need to pick a coloured pencil to draw the cat with. I'm thinking this brown. Next, we need to pick a colour to just draw in background basics. Here's a blue, or is it purple? I honestly can't tell if this is blue or purple, but we'll find out when I start using it. That should be good enough. So if we have the cat in the middle-ish, that would mean having it butt like right here, probably. Its head over here-ish. Bottom of it will probably land here-ish on a diagonal, you know, if it was a loaf. That should be adequate sketching. I've decided it, so it must be true. The rest of it is kind of fluff around these. This is supposed to spark out somewhere here, because that's where that joins in. And then we've got a little bit of angling through here to get to this point here, which is of similar sizing. That's a bit too big, but because it's in the foreground, I'm going to allow it to pass anyway. Okay, this is kind of diagonal here, so that's where that paw's arm comes from. Got a line about here, and then it goes more like that, and then it suddenly cuts off like that, and then down. This fluff is supposed to come a bit closer to that paw, which means that paw needs to come a bit closer to us. Yep, kind of like that. And this tail, for the most part, isn't going to be visible. And then obviously there's the blob in the middle of these eyes, which can be dealt with after I've done the colouring for the eyes. I think that's the best one to get for actually planning it out. We've got a level here that goes across and levels here. I was right, it is a blue pencil. This rounds up around there, across here, down, so it supports there, but then at another level you can kind of tell there's plant life in here. Add this here. Alright, so that's our cat sketch done. Next phase. I kind of want to start by erasing the eyes, so I might just erase everything slightly. I've decided to start with the eyes now that I've lightened everything up. There we go. And we'll start by adding a layer of this reddy brown to all of the different places I'm going to add black. And there we go, our brown layer is in. Oh no, I forgot the tail. Top up the eye while I'm here. Next up, we add our first layer of black along there. There we go. Now I'm gonna do the head, but the different areas of the head are gonna get done a bit differently, and the head in general will be done a bit differently to everywhere else. Alright, with some leftover on that brush, I'm gonna tap it around in this white section of the mane. Add some white here. Of course, by white, I mean very light grey, but same thing, I suppose. Add some brown, add some more black now to the extra areas. I actually can't see, like you can probably see the painting better than I can right now because it's wet and the light is shiny on it. And so I can't see anything but white shine. Now it's going to be a bit harder because I need to do this section in dark black rather than the partially dark black. Except for that section will get a bit of editing after. I'll add some extra touches to it. Alright, so that's the head painted black. I've got to let that dry a bit before I can actually review whether I like it or not. I'm going to add another layer of black to the head. I think that's the cat just about done. I just need to add a little dab of pink to the mouth. Yep. And that's the cat done. Now I've just got to do the background. Goes from about here onwards, underneath here to about here. This is the dirt at the bottom of the planter box or whatever it is. Next up would be this dark color on this strip for the shadow. And then waiting for that to dry, I also want to add a brown undercoat to this section. You know, I'm starting to think it might have been a good idea to just add the brown undercoat to the entire painting at the beginning, but I didn't, and so now's when we're getting that added. And it's fine. It's perfectly well and dandy. Probably would have been annoyed at all the white bits if I had done an undercoat in the first place anyway. See, I have forethought, definitely. Or I don't need forethought, maybe. Now I need to add the plant life. I'm thinking here for one. And we can add some more behind it. Add some of that there. Followed by a little more over here. A little bit back here. I think that's all I need back there. And then I can add this section here. Probably should have painted the background before adding this one over here, but it's too late. I've already added it. I'm sure we'll live with the consequences. There's actually a little bit of plant life back here that I'd like to commemorate while I'm here. This section over here is probably best done in this color. Very faintly would have been ideal, but I already planted in the plants, so doing it faintly is a bit of a boat that sailed already. You know what I mean? Darker browns to some sections of the soil. A little bit of orange to this section, just to make it a bit more color-coded. The rest of the background can be grey. Darker brown can be splattered along this side. I feel like there's better colouring options for this, but I don't know what they are, so they're not getting used. Here as well, add little bits of brown here. I'm going to add a little bit of green. There isn't really green in the image, but I want to add a little bit of green to these rocks. So I'm going to. And over top of all of that will be a nice coating of grey. That's a bit darker than I intended. Probably should have waited for the other colours to dry before I started doing this, but I'm impatient. It's after midnight and I need to be up in a few hours. And by a few hours, I mean like 9 hours, but I really like my sleep. Can you blame me? I'm thinking I'll use a little bit of black in this section, just to differentiate it a little bit. All right, now for the green. Start with bright green, move on to dark afterwards. A little bit more over here. We're almost done. Let's move on to my darker green. Now that one's supposed to be slightly more personality in this stroke here. Other strokes could have a little bit as well. For this section I'm going to use a slightly different green for the darker bits because it's all supposed to be one plant. So I think using a green that's closer to the light green that was originally used for this section would be beneficial. Just over here. A little bit of orange in just some parts of this. I want some little bits of orange. Slighter spreads in some sections of this light blue. I gave it a second to set a bit and now I'm going to go over it with the wet. I've just got the brush wet. I don't actually have any specific colours on it right now. I'm just scrubbing it down with a wet brush. And I've decided I do want to add a little bit of this darker green. I think it'll just add a little bit more personality. And I think I'm going to call this done. It really does look weird without whiskers, but I don't have any white that I can draw over it with. Maybe I should just add some grey strokes as whiskers, like that. There we go. There's some whiskers now. They're not very good whiskers, but they are whiskers and it's on the piece. Alright, we'll take this pen and date it. What's the date again? It's like 06.07.2026. And we're done. Bruh. It's officially just after midnight and way past my bedtime, and we have officially finished the painting. Yay! She's not perfect, and I definitely either need more practice or more sleep. Probably both. But she's not too bad either. She's definitely not the worst thing I've painted. She is a little bit grumpier than in the reference photo, but that's okay. It be like that sometimes. How do I end these videos? Well, here's a clearer image of the finished product. And now that you've looked at that, it's time to go. Bye!